it just shows that writing on plates, and not only plates, but golden plates, was something that existed in the ancient world, which is kind of a big deal.
It makes it so it's not such an outlandish thing to believe.
Yes.
We know better.
You look real racist real fast when in your anger at the Mormons, you start saying that the natives don't know what they're talking about.
Honestly, this might be the very first time that the world is seeing this on a platform.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Is that this one right here?
Yes.
Oh, dude.
Wow. Okay. What is this?
So what you're looking at right there is a Damascus steel sword with a silver hilt.
I think that's one of the big reasons why there is so much pushback on the Book of Mormon specifically, is because there is that feeling of, hey, if this is true, that means Joseph Smith was telling the truth.
I also think it opens the door for people that are a little bit more logically minded.
That said, the internet is not a repository of all human knowledge. I know that for sure.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to Midnight Strike Through Mormons. I am your host, Cardin Ellis, and today I'm joined in the studio by the whole crew of the Stick of Joseph. We've got Brad Whitback. He's double dipping. We've got Hayden Paul, Jackson Paul, and Jordan Barrowman of Spectra Films. Mr. Beast cameraman. It's pretty cool, man. Bragging rights.
I am not Mr. Beast cameraman.
Yeah.
This is going on YouTube.
Okay, we got to get this thing straight. What'd you do with Mr. Beast?
I shot a couple of videos and a whole behind the scenes video of the Squid Game. His Squid Game.
Yeah, just
project.
his most popular and watched
Look,
video
you're on
all
speed
time.
dial.
So-
You're like, you're a slut. Can I have your
Jordan,
autograph?
So you were using the camera, right?
Yeah.
What gender are you?
I identify as a male.
So that makes you a cameraman, and then you were working for Mr. Beast. So I think what Cardin said is
Accurate.
right.
I guess it's accurate.
Yeah, boom shakalaka, bro. So anyway, today you came in the studio and you said, "Hey, let's hammer out some anachronisms."
Mm-hmm.
And what, you think they're going away? You think what's going on?
Okay, first,
what's an anachronism, Hayden?
Okay, I'll explain what an anachronism is, because I didn't know what they were until fairly recently. But an anachronism is something that doesn't fit in the time and place that it's said that it's in. So what that means is, like, if we got a letter from George Washington and it was written to Thomas Jefferson, and he was saying, "Hey, make sure you follow me on Instagram," then we would be like, "Oh, this is obviously a false letter because Instagram didn't exist then." So that is an anachronism.
Something out of place in history.
Exactly.
Okay,
That's
words
perfect.
that don't belong in the time and place they purport to belong. Okay.
Yes.
So there's
words or like other things. So like if they were referencing like Apple iPhone
or New York City.
Like it can be physical objects, things like that.
Okay. And so usually when I hear a big word for the first time used improperly, it's because anti-Mormons are trying to leverage that general ignorance of the layman into some kind of backdoor attack upon the church. Hence, what'd you say?
How do you mean? Explain.
Well, people all the time are trying to say like, "Oh, well, that in the Book of Mormon is anachronistic." And so I go look it up, and I find out that, it is a pretty big word. Isn't that pretty good? So I have found the anachronisms arguments against the Book of Mormon garbage, but fun to dive into, because one of two things happens. Either you start realizing that the anachronism was actually a straw man of what the thing really said, or you discover other details that explain the phenomenon that are actually quite interesting. Like, the flocks not necessarily being of sheep, I think you mentioned, and possibly being of turkeys.
I never said that. I have no idea.
I think that would be so much more hilarious. If I was a Lamanite trying to scatter flocks, I would be scattering flocks of turkeys.
Yeah.
Well, like,
that'd be way more fun.
It's kind of funny, like when you
Blood and
actually
carnage
think,
going around while you just hear.
Dude, like
Ammon chopping off arms with gobbles.
that all completely make us think that we've been robbed of our childhoods with the paintings and the Richard Rich cartoons that showed them as sheep when they should have been turkeys.
Well, I mean, we just don't know, right? It only ever says flocks, so it's not super clear.
Okay, so anyway, you're saying anachronisms are a big deal. Tell us why you think they're a big deal and what to do with them. Hayden.
Okay. Jackson. No, Jackson, you
I
do
said
it.
Hayden.
Oh, okay, I'll do it.
No, I'm just kidding. You know what you guys do.
Jackson, you go.
The reason that they're a big deal and also not so big of a deal, because from the start, the Book of Mormon was published in 1830, correct? You have an exact date on that?
No, I don't.
No,
Do we know the
neither.
exact date? 1830.
1830, okay?
Okay.
And since then, over 204 like public anachronisms have been brought to the table, right?
Okay.
Things that supposedly are out of place in time. And over the years, over 170 of those anachronisms that have been put on the table have been stricken off the list.
Is that what this article is that we're going to be checking out right here? Is that this list?
Yeah, so you can find this
Okay, cool.
actually on fairlatterdaysaint.org, and it's some work that's done by a guy by the name of Matt Roper. So,
Yeah, this guy right here.
yeah, so
Look at
what
that.
he did is actually really cool, and I want to preface it accurately so everyone knows.
Okay.
So what he did was he read through over 1,000 pieces of literature that was critical of the Book of Mormon from the time of the Book of Mormon until present time, okay?
Okay.
And in that, he just made a list of every single problem that the critics put forth about the Book of Mormon.
like steel in the old world,
Steel in the
evidence
New
of
World,
horses,
things
stuff
like that, right?
So we're talking about this guy. By the way, just shout out to Matt Roper. Like,
a good
this
headshot.
guy
That is
looks
a good
like
headshot.
every dude that
Happy
writes
boy.
for Fair.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if there ever were a poster boy of something,
Just like a happy boy.
you know what I'm saying? Here is a volunteer at Fair.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably at the Fair conference with the Fair lanyard around his neck. But
Dude,
if
that
you
guy
ever,
has a good smile.
yeah,
it's a
no,
good
he
one.
looks like a genuinely happy person, which usually happens when you have the light of Christ in your life still. So, no, it's savage. But,
Maybe it's
all
just a
right.
good picture.
Oh, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah.
keep going.
So what he does is he reads over 1,000 pieces of literature critical of the Book of Mormon. He makes a list of all the things. One thing he doesn't do, and he makes this clear in this paper that we're going over, is that he hasn't had the time and he hasn't put effort into cross-checking whether or not these things were known by the modern world. He's just accepting that the people who wrote those books did their research.
Well, I assume that they wouldn't have said
Oh, so he's assuming they were operating in good faith,
Yeah.
which we're pretty
Yeah, so-
positive with some of them that they weren't.
Yeah, some of them,
Okay.
and some of them might have not known, right? But
Okay.
that said, though, these were some serious problems brought forth with the Book of Mormon, and at the end of the day, like we do know that at the time of Joseph Smith, we had no evidence of steel being used for swords in the old world. And so it's
Okay.
not that this was like a straw man that was put up by people critical of the Book of Mormon.
Yeah, it's
it was
legitimate.
like it was legitimate, 100%. And I think that's the point that we're bringing forth, is that all of these things may have been legitimate at some point.
And
See,
like
you're-
a legitimate concern, but not
Legitimate
necessarily a legitimate disproving of the Book of Mormon, as we're going
that's
to
the whole that's the whole
explore.
problem with anachronisms is like how many times are we going to find things in history that prove us wrong currently or in the short past, right? To use an anachronism as a way to
linchpin.
disprove something completely it's impossible.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
See, I
You
prefer the
can't
binary
use-
that these are bad people, anti-Mormons,
you do,
screw
Carter.
them.
Of course you do.
You know what
You're
I'm
really
saying?
trying
They're
to rile
all-
me up, Carter.
It's been 5 minutes and I already
You know,
friggin' lighting a fire.
Just like, you know, I'm going to start, you
Stir
know.
the pot. Just,
Duncan.
this is early, bro. This is early in the
okay.
episode.
So, what if I understand this correctly? This brother, okay, love this guy.
Yeah,
You know,
good dude.
so our peaceful internet warrior, Matt Roper, all right, has gone to the Microsoft Excel spreadsheet with a really cool parchment background.
Yes.
Okay. And has compiled this really, oh, dude, no, boomers, they love their Excel, dude. Microsoft Word and
dude.
Excel, boom, it runs in their blood. So anyway, he's made this really cool graph that shows at the original point in time between 1966 and 2019, here were a list of all the suggested anachronisms, in the Book of Mormon, where people were saying, hey, this doesn't seem to fit. Some of them seem to make a little bit of sense. Like, for example, trumpets, pre-Columbian elephants. Okay, to me,
some
I
of the
could see.
names like
Yeah.
Sam and Josh and stuff like that.
Yeah, some of this stuff though, I'm thinking like, are you kidding me? Oh, arm shields? You're claiming that arm shields are an anachronism? What, you think European like Hessians and what was the name of the Greek circular shield? They were called not the Hittites, what was the
I
H
don't
word
know.
that the
You're
Greeks
on your
were?
own on
Yeah,
I'm on my own. Okay,
yeah,
fine.
you're wrong.
Either way, so do
Hoplites.
you think the armies of
Hoplites.
antiquity in Western Europe were the only ones that ever thought hoplites? That was it.
I know.
Yeah, of course, Brad. knows that.
Yeah. Okay, was that you,
got you
Brad?
guys.
Yeah,
It
of
was
course
Brad,
it
but
was
you
Brad.
can't see him.
Ah, yeah.
I passed it. over
Okay,
to
cool.
It was good.
So what, you think the hoplites were the
Teamwork.
first people to think of an arm shield? You know what I'm saying? I mean, this is a basic here. Large armies. What do you think the Crusades were the first large army? You know, what's large? What's an army? So I don't know. Some of these I think are crap we could throw away
some
right
of them
away.
are kind of goofy from the get-go, but there are, like I said, some really good ones. Like, for example, writing on metal plates in the Old World, as well as writing on metal plates in the New World. So at the time the Book of Mormon came out, I don't believe, and people check me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe that any writings on metal plates had ever been discovered. Since then, there have been writings on metal plates. Some of them actually have been written on gold plates. I'll send you a link right
many
now.
in Egypt, actually.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting because we know that Lehi and his family were descendants of Egyptians. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
And then, there's also the Roman soldiers would carry some of the writings of Epictetus on metal plates inside of their breast protections.
And their breast protection, yeah.
And also, I mean, most famously, I think we found the copper scroll of the Essenes in Qumran, was it? Or was it in the other set of Dead Sea Scrolls that was found in the Nag Hammadi library? I can't remember. I'm messing up my Dead Sea Scrolls. But yes, it used to be that people said that writing on metal objects was an absolute anachronism, that this doesn't fit, that, you're all a bunch of fools. But now we found that to actually be something that was wildly possible and consistent with evidence of antiquity.
I just barely sent you something in the Discord. Check it out. These golden plates. It's really, really cool. Here's 2 examples of golden plates. That the first, the one that I just sent you, dates back to 600 BC. Now, it's not in the Middle East area per se. I'm pretty sure they were excavated in Bulgaria, but it shows that this was something that people did. They're actually really cool metal plates. And then the second one,
interesting. Look at this.
was found in Italy, actually dating to around the same time.
It also has an advertisement for the last pants you'll buy. Men's slim fit, stretchy red.
Well, that's what the
up.
golden plates were for. They were. That's a translation of the golden plates.
That's a translation. Okay, well, look at that. That's intriguing.
So isn't that super interesting?
Yeah.
And so both of these plates, I just sent another one too. They date back.
Ones.
Oh, I sent the same ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, you sent the same one twice.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well,
it's all good. It's all good. You know.
But it just shows that writing on plates, and not only plates but golden plates, was something that existed in the ancient world, which is kind of a big deal because, like, if you're thinking about Joseph Smith making up a story, you don't think that he would have done some research on what would have been most probable. You know what I mean? And a lot of people think that, oh, no, this is an example of Joseph Smith being stupid and just writing a 19th century piece of literature. But, like, he was so stupid that he wrote a 19th century piece of literature, but it has as many details as it has, and it matches multiple voices throughout the text. And
over time, it just
at the same time, he's really
better.
stupid, but also really smart. You know, like it's kind of inconsistent in my opinion. I don't know.
And like what Jackson was saying, over time, those details tend to get proven more and more to be accurate, right?
Yeah, I love what Jim Bennett said, and I've said it before on the live stream, that frauds always look worse over time. They're easier to disprove as time goes along, whereas authentic things, events, artifacts are harder and harder and harder to disprove, and the evidence mounts in their favor instead of against them. And this is so interesting. Look at this. The one you put in the Discord, found in 1964 in the excavation of a sanctuary in ancient Pirgi, Italy.
Yeah.
The 3 gold plates date back to 500 BC. That's within 100 years. That's striking distance of Nephi.
And look at the part about the holes. Right.
Containing holes around the edges, scholars think that were once bound together.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the leather would have rotted, or the cellulose material, or however they put it together. The
and
wood
that's
would have
exactly what went on with the gold plates.
Yes.
They were bound together with the rods through them, right? And so it's fascinating to see, like, not only were there plates, they were also bound together in some way. And this is from a similar time period, similar area, not the exact spot that we're looking at, but it makes it so it's not such an outlandish thing to believe.
Yeah.
So, well, I was just going to say that back to Matt Roper, our happy internet warrior here, it looks like he has indeed compiled this list. And look, slowly over time, a lot of that red ends up going away until, what does it look like? Now the church and these volunteer scholars have come down to...
I think you're going the wrong way.
Oh, whoops. Yeah, you're right. Here's the status of Book of Mormon claims in 1842.
Yeah.
Now it's looking like...
Oh, no, now you passed it. You went
now
too
I passed
fast.
it. Oops.
Oh, my gosh.
This is
No,
beginner
he was going the
hour,
right way.
dude.
It's at the top, right?
No.
Yeah, actually, I'll just go to where you guys were smart and you
Right
took
here.
it out. Here
Yeah,
we
there
go.
Yeah.
Anachronisms relating to ancient. Wow. So
that's
look.
just one of the pages that we saw.
And what did you guys just do? Look, the first red one is what? Steel swords.
Steel swords, but that's New World, right? Does it say NW right there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we still had not
Okay.
found steel swords in the New World. Now, that's what I want to bring up too, is that there are still a lot of valid anachronisms that exist, but some of them are like those blue ones.
I
for
give these
example,
people no quarter.
Those are on those blue ones mean that it's leaning towards the direction that they might be proven later on. One of them recently, and Brad, you actually talked about it last night. The most recent anachronism that looks like it's going to get overturned.
Oh yeah, with the horses that they found down in Mesoamerica.
Yes.
Get out of town.
Yeah, at the right time period and everything, right?
Oh,
it's,
whoa,
yeah,
okay.
it's really fascinating, and so it's an interesting thing to see because you're starting to see this evidence shift where you do have Native American people. Well, I guess what's the right way to say for Mesoamerican indigenous people
Of color.
yeah, going through. They say in their own histories that they had horses before in pre-Columbian
But
times.
we know better.
You look real racist real fast when in your anger at the Mormons, you start saying that the natives don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And it's fascinating though because like there are details that don't get discussed. Like in the Book of Mormon, you never have cavalry described. You don't have people riding horses into battle.
Yeah.
You have horses mentioned, but only very few times, and it seems to be more of a beast of burden sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so there's been arguments made that it could be something else, or it could be actual horses. Now that's even more on the table because they've actually found those bones.
And I also feel a little bit empathetic for Joseph Smith because the few times that he actually tried to translate what words were there, he came up with curloms and Q-moms. And like we don't know what that is. Like at least we can kind of take a smack at what flocks were.
Mammoths
And-
and llamas.
You think
Yeah.
so?
That's
Shut
what I
up,
would
really?
guess. If I were to guess, I've seen somebody say it was pterodactyls. That one's awesome.
Jordan's like, I don't know how I feel about this podcast anymore. I don't know if I want to be associated with pterodactyls and llamas. This is one step too far for me. Mammoths, pre-Ice Age mammoths having survived, maybe. Pterodactyls, no way. So we got to get Kwaku here to really make him feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this is intriguing. So, okay. So here's my only thing with this. Are we adopting the language of our oppressors by adopting the list of what they say couldn't have happened and then slowly checking it off like there's some principle and we have to make sure that we've been well behaved
No,
before
I
they'll
think it's
believe
freaking.
us?
I think it's awesome. I think at the end of
See,
the day,
I would rather
for us
just-
to be intellectually, because I believe that things like this, they have to be understood on a spiritual level first and foremost. But when you are able to understand them on an intellectual level, it strengthens both. Like for example, I don't accept all of the commandments just on face value because it says it in the scriptures. I try to think of that like the actual logical reasons, and what I find is that there are logical reasons behind all of the commandments that are backed up by science more often than not, and it's not just you have to take everything on faith. So I love this because it allows me to strengthen both my spiritual faith as well as my physical understanding of it all.
You don't think that it's just like movie producers here in Hollywood where they throw a bucket of noodles at the wall to see what sticks? They make 17 different promos for 15 different new series, and then the top 3 that actually end up having some kind of audience and can make enough advertising
That's what they
dollars,
focus on.
they'll continue into the second season. See, whenever I see stuff like this, I just literally think there's a bunch of haters out there that can't stand the fact that Joseph Smith translated an ancient record and brought something new and creative to the table. So like a big hive of bees that only have one stinger in them, they start saying anachronism this, anachronism that, blah, 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 and they just end up being a bunch of losers throwing spaghetti at the wall to try and see what'll stick and what other third-party people will believe in order to get them to lose their faith and home wreck their families.
And that is where we disagree.
I think there's a lot of intellects out there who genuinely want to know if the Book of Mormon's true, and they go and read it and they understand these
They're picking it apart,
anachronisms,
yeah.
and they pick it apart and they say, okay, these are the problems here. And I think a lot of them have even said, these could be discovered later on, but it's not necessarily like our oppressors are just trying to pick it apart because they hate us, right? It's it's them actually searching and finding anachronisms.
Because I do the same thing.
So
when
look,
I read the Book of Mormon, I do the exact same thing. I'm like, wait a second, I don't think, like, I would be making, if this list hadn't already been made, while I was doing this project, I would have been the one to make
So
the
look,
list.
when I'm
You
a
know what I mean?
millionaire, I'm going to buy a house for you, okay, next to me. And when I'm getting a little bit hot and heavy and I'm saying these people are idiots, I'll say, but hey, kids, go play at Uncle Jordan's house. Like, he'll be nice. You know what I'm saying? Like, go ask Uncle Jordan about it. He'll probably give you something a little more well-rounded.
You were going to say something, Jackson?
No, yeah, but I also think it opens the door for people that are a little bit more logically minded, right? Because, for example, the commandments, and you probably experienced this in the Marine Corps as well. You have a lot of people that come to you and you're like, oh, so you're a Mormon, you can't have sex before marriage, you can't drink, you can't smoke, do all this stuff. And I always say, I adopted the point of view of, oh, hell yeah, I can drink as much as I want. I can get freaking wasted.
You look like you could throw him down, bro.
Yeah, bro.
No.
I can have as much sex before marriage as I want, but the thing is that I don't want to because
Of these reasons.
that I know are possibilities.
Didn't you scream that at a drill sergeant once? and you made him like bust up laughing? Shut up. Don't hold out on us now. Don't hold out on us now. I think I remember you going
There's a funny
forward
story.
with your hands and saying, this recruiter's waiting for the right person, sir.
Okay, a little side story. For some reason in Marine Corps boot camp, obviously the topic of conversation is,
Crude.
It's just crude, okay? I could go into
place.
specifics, but it wouldn't be
Heaven
productive.
forbid we use crudeness and vulgarity to create a weapon force that is
There was several different times in which my drill instructors was like, okay, on the real, all the virgins, get up here right now. And I would like push everyone out of the way and stand up there and stand up. You got to stand at attention like all weird. And I was like, and he's like, Paul, why am I not surprised? And I'm like, this recruit is waiting for the right lady, sir. And he's like, and you really think she's going to come? This recruit prays that she will, sir. Then he's like, get the hell out of my face.
Yeah, covers his face with his campaign cover and laughs.
But anyways, going back to it.
You're not going to convince Marines why they should keep the commandments by using the Bible and the Book of Mormon.
The faith-based thing, which is good and it's necessary to have the faith behind the commandments as well. But also, I don't need faith to tell me why having premarital sex with dozens of different partners is probably not a good idea.
Negative, yeah. And why drinking is negative, why all these things. And so that's kind of the way I like what we're adopting when it comes to the Stick of Joseph project. We're trying to explain this and make it accessible to the people who maybe aren't at a spiritual level yet, where they're able to just read the Bible, read the Book of Mormon, and just like be like, oh, okay.
So you're trying to talk to people in a language that they'll understand.
Yeah, and
which I think is really
curiosity.
See, I prefer to vilify them and estrange them. You know what I'm saying?
But here's the point. Here's the card. If all of them have given us this opportunity. Like even in my position, if the Book of Mormon is true or not, like I'm still in a position where I get to go out and find these things with you guys, right? And film it and make it cool. And they've created such a good opportunity for us.
Yeah,
You know
we
what
got to
I
be
mean?
thankful to the people that have been critical to the Book of Mormon. Or
Yeah.
else what would we be doing right now? We'd just be right about everything and just
we're
be
critical
chilling.
of it too.
Oh, this is way more fun.
We want to prove it right.
Yeah.
See,
And-
I was
and that's
enjoying
another
continuing to lean into the
That's a good
meme
point,
that
Jordan.
these are bad people, but I guess it's
But
just
you're
run
right,
its
yeah.
course. I guess it's just run its course. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I hope that Jesus Christ advocates for me as well as Jordan Barrowman advocated for any legitimate doubters out there. You know what I'm saying?
That's
good. At this point, people are wondering, like, what's funny is I love when people call in and they don't know. They can't quite tell yet when me and Kwaku and Brad are being
joking.
serious.
Yeah.
Like it's like I'm enjoying the
We
fact
have
that
a hard time too sometimes.
you did
Gotta
think
keep
that
that veil.
you thought me and my wife had a prenup there for a solid 40 years.
Oh, we all did.
That was so scary.
Pardon,
Yeah.
I still
about
think
to
you
get
might.
out of this thing.
I was
about to
was-
estrange myself.
Yeah.
From you.
Oh my gosh. Bro.
Wait. Can I bring the subject back a little bit to
Yes,
something I
hit it.
said? So I said we want to prove it right, and that's not necessarily true for me, but I know that can be true for us and the people, especially watching this documentary. What they're searching for is just something else to affirm their faith, right? But but there are a lot of people out there that want to prove it wrong.
Yeah.
And then there are also a lot of people out there, and I feel like I'm in part of this group where it's okay if it's right or if it's okay if it's true or not true. What I'm interested in is finding out whether or not it's true or not true. If there's truth to it, if there's not truth to it. I'm not necessarily a black and
I'm
person.
open to both. I'm open to both ideas too. Like I have this very the way that I look at like truth and kind of where my standing is on how I see things is it's like climbing a ladder. Like you have to hold on to what you hold on to tight enough that you're not going to fall. But if you hold on it too tight, then you're not going to be able to ascend to the next rung.
Yeah, there's no progress in that.
Yes, there's no progress in it. So I hold on to my truths tight enough where I'm not like lost in the sea of chaos, but I'm always willing to let go of lower truths to accept higher truths. And I think that's how we all need to be, when it comes to
there's no doubt that
like
there
this.
is a duality, that both aspects of us, the kind of very right-brained side has to get along with the left-brained side. And if you go too far left-brained or too far right-brained, you reach an imbalance that I don't think God ever anticipated. And yes, lists like this end up why you're squinting at that? Did I say something really stupid?
I just don't, that God never anticipated what?
I don't think he meant anticipated. I think that he
Intended.
Intended. Yeah.
Yes.
He intended us to live balanced, good lives. You know what I'm saying? Where we're the left and the right side of our brain are functioning together and both satisfied. Does that make sense?
Yeah. In fact,
okay.
I think the scripture suggests that is the case, that like we are partially spiritual creatures that need to figure out how to operate in the world in a spiritual way. But we also can't just completely ignore our other senses.
Okay. Now,
we
I
still
will
need to
say-
have the confidence in God, because I think when you look at what the scriptures say, they give examples of faith. You have Abraham was promised that he would have kids as numberless as the sands of the sea. He did not have a single child till he was what? Late 80s?
Yeah,
90s?
who
Like
knows?
he was
Yeah,
very
super
old
old.
when
Yeah.
he had his first kid. And so like the scriptures say this. They talk about all of these people who are good examples of faith that did not have evidence of the things that they believed until after the promise, right? And I think that there is some aspect of that can help temper this in a way that helps us learn and grow. But I do think, like you're saying, Cardin, we have a dual nature to us. We are both spiritual and physical, and we need to acknowledge that and deal with it.
I think especially we live in a time where we can figure out the truths way more than people back then could, right? We
way more
especially
accessible.
in this
I don't know.
position, we're in a position here. I hate.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
But I do think that the Empire State Building was built in 88 days. That was a physical accomplishment. We couldn't get through contract negotiations to build the new Empire State Building in 2023. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
like,
I get that.
though we're tempted to go modernist on this and say we have access to so much information because now the internet fills in all of these gaps. Well, it fills it in with a lot of garbage too. You know what I'm saying?
And
It's-
all of the
bog us
evidence
down.
that's
It's a double-edged sword. Like
Yeah.
I agree with Jordan that we do live at a time where we are standing, we hear this all the time, we're standing on the shoulders of giants. Think about all the people that have spent their whole lives trying to figure out the most random things.
Yeah.
And then now we have it. And it's at our fingertips, especially with the internet. That said, the internet is not a repository of all human knowledge. I've learned that for sure with this project. But the point is that it's there, but that we have to practice the spirit of discernment, I think, more than we had to before.
Okay, so just two things here before you say before we wrap up shortly, but I would like to say, just push back on Jordan and his lovely hippie kumbaya, let's all get together. You know what I'm saying? Is I would just say,
Here we go. I've been waiting weeks for this. Bro.
yes, in the defense of my binary, that this anachronisms list should be viewed as a challenge and as a competition. You know what I'm saying? He did make it look like a scorecard. Like, I mean, don't tell me it's not a competition and make it look just like a TPC golf card.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Or the thing that you see Tom Hanks and the celebrities filling out of the baseball game. You know what I'm saying?
And actually, so one thing that this makes me think of, pull the list back up.
Okay, yeah.
Like,
Christmas.
what is your threshold, on when you're going to believe that the Book of Mormon is
Does it have to
historically
all be
accurate?
green?
Like, yeah, is it all green?
interesting.
Is it 50% green?
That's a good point. What's your batting average?
And like, I also question, what's the utility in having an arbitrary level of these anachronisms being solved? That's the deciding factor for you.
Yeah.
I think this is actually one of the cases where leaning on your spiritual senses and learning to do that is a huge thing that I think God wants us to do. I think that's part of why, like, we'll move the goalposts on this every time.
Oh, for sure.
You know, like the guy that I taught on my mission who said, well, I just can't believe it because there's no horses. Like, is he going to hear about these horses that they just found and be like,
oh, wait
guys, baptize me now? Like, that's not going to be what happens. He's probably going to hear about the horses and be like, huh, man, still can't buy that steel though. You know, it's going to be.
So one thing, you go first. You go first.
No,
I've
you go
talked a lot.
first. No, dude.
Okay, fine. I'll go first.
Jordan's got better hair.
I was just gonna say that I see that it definitely is not as important looking at this list and trying to go through and reading the Book of Mormon with kind of temporal eyes as it is spiritual eyes. That said, the reason why I'm going to continue to engage in it, I've learned with my spiritual eyes that I really do believe the Book of Mormon to be the Word of God.
Yeah.
And I want this to stop being a distraction to people. And so I think it is important for us to check all those greens off, because then it's like, what other excuses are you going to come up with? You said for years and years, the reason I don't believe in the Book of Mormon is because of all of these physical evidences that never could have existed at the time. And then we really do get down to the crux of it all, which is you have to contend with it spiritually and with the doctrine inside of it, instead of using kind of these, flippant
and then put the doctrine
points
to the test as a lifestyle change instead of the physical evidence to the test as an excuse.
I cut off Jordan. Jordan, you go.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think that one thing I'm hoping that this thing accomplishes for me, and maybe this is a selfish endeavor, but
it is.
You do have long hair. No, I'm just kidding. What?
I do have long hair, and it is a selfish endeavor. I think it's a detriment to black and white this and say, because to what Brad was saying, to what extent do we have expectations on the people who accept the Book of Mormon to be true? Because I think about that lady commenting on that live stream we did with that radio show. The only thing she would come up with is problems with Joseph Smith.
Nothing about the Book of Mormon.
What if we detached Joseph Smith from the Book of Mormon? I know that seems impossible to do, but we say the Book of Mormon's true, but maybe Joseph Smith doesn't have to be a prophet if the Book of Mormon's true. What significance does that still hold for the Christian community that the Book of Mormon has truth that they can then use, right?
Well, and then
doesn't force them to join a church that they don't want to join.
And honestly, I think that's one of the big reasons why there is so much pushback on the Book of Mormon specifically, is because there is that feeling of, hey, if this is true, that means Joseph Smith was telling the truth. That means he was really a prophet,
and you
right?
have to get
and
baptized.
Those dominoes follow, right? So when those people who are not wanting to join the church hear that there are things proving the Book of Mormon and making it more and more feasible, they're gonna naturally push back against that.
Let's just eat the elephant one bite at a time. And I like that approach, where it's just like, let's not worry about the other claims. Let's not worry about the doctrinal claims of the church, at least with this series. I think they're important, and I'd love to talk about all those. But in this series, let's not worry about that. What we're going to do is we're going to take one bite, and we're going to see if that's good, and that's the Book of Mormon.
This all seems well reasoned for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, just I don't know.
Too little conflict. We want it to be ex-Mormon bad.
Just like, where's the thumbnail that says wrecked with facts and logic,
debunking religious bigotry?
I'm a child of the internet, man. What? No, I'm just kidding.
True.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So anyway, before we wrap up here, what are some of your favorite anachronisms that either through your own project, The Stick of Joseph, have gone away, or some of your favorites that have gone away with the research of others? And is there anything new that you're bringing to this list?
Carden, go ahead and hop on the Discord. I sent some pictures in there.
Okay, cool.
Very cool picture.
Some very cool. And honestly, this might be the very first time that the world is seeing this on a platform.
Yeah.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Is that this one right here?
Yes.
Oh, dude.
Wow. Okay. What is this?
So what you're looking at there is a Damascus steel sword with a silver hilt that Well, how would you describe that hill?
Yeah,
rather?
I would say it's very precious. It's exceedingly fine. I would probably say
It's workmanship.
Yeah,
Might be okay.
Yeah, and the blade thereof looks of the most precious steel.
Yeah,
Not the most precious steel. Right?
Like decently
The second-
precious steel.
the second most precious.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there is one more that has the most precious steel.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that's so cool.
That's funny. All right. So yeah, good job, man. You impressed us all, bro. So all right. So are there any anachronisms that you some of these I thought were just hogwash. Were there
Well, you
any
never
that got-
explain the
Okay,
sword.
so what you're looking at right here is a 6th century BC sword. Okay, that's when they
Okay.
dated it back to, and it is made of Damascus steel, which it's very interesting because when you look back at the text on how Nephi described this sword, he goes back at night, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he describes in low light that it was made of the most precious steel, which Damascus, when you make it, you fold the material, smash it, fold, smash.
Yeah.
I don't know all the terms. When you cure it, it has these different little watermarks that. Can you zoom in on
Kind of
that,
see.
Carden?
Yeah, I can zoom in right here.
So what you see there is that all the watermarks they've rusted out over time. The rest of
Okay.
the steel sword hasn't. But you can see how, and in a new Damascus steel sword, you just see like these beautiful lines that kind of to run through it. And so the
Yeah.
fact that he was able to pull it out,
Yeah.
it just shows that it was probably a Damascus steel sword that he was able to pull it out and immediately say, "This is of the most fine steel."
Okay, so now that we've got all the hippie nice good stuff about the middle ground and nice people we shouldn't judge, I'm going to say this is my favorite anachronism. And the reason why is because this just came across my feed just last week. This whole steel in swords and things like that to me is just still so relevant because like I literally just watched this video where an anti-Mormon was making fun of missionaries coming to the door of, quote, experts. It literally says, if Mormon missionaries knocked on experts' door, and she literally just makes fun of missionaries knocking on somebody's door and saying like, oh, wait, how do they make a steel sword without blast furnaces? And oh, wait, this is impossible. And making an utter mockery of these poor sister missionaries for believing in the Book of Mormon. Yet now here we are in 2023 making unironic analyses of antiquities that we have found that have been dated to the exact century that Nephi would have wielded a steel sword.
And it was because it was a misunderstanding. So the way that these steel swords are made is they take iron and they make an iron sword, and then they just take pieces of carbon and they just beat
and
it.
they hammer it.
So you didn't need, the way that we make steel now is completely different. They actually, I think they smelt the carbon and the iron together. So you do need higher and higher temperatures, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of people, and this just comes down to the idea of, we just need to be curious enough to like really look into it. You know what I mean? A lot of times we just take how we understand something and then we copy and paste it on the rest of humanity and never consider the fact that, okay, let's like, do a lot of people, and I'm not calling out, that girl on, what she's done with it all, but I would just ask myself and anyone else, are you trying to steel man the argument first that there were steel swords? Because that's what I try to do, and that's what we're going to try to do in this series, is we're taking every argument and we're trying to steel man it.
Yeah.
And then see what holes are poked in it naturally. You know what I mean?
I also think that's a far more effective way to convince people is by helping them understand that you understand their side of the argument.
Yes.
And
every side has a side. Like there's positives and negatives to all sides,
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, and the thing is, how arrogant do you have to be to lay claim on things that happened thousands of years ago instead of just being curious and open-minded, right? Because that's so weird to me.
I mean, aren't we laying claims on things that happened thousands of years ago?
Yeah, but upon evidence found, right? They're saying this evidence hasn't been found, so therefore it doesn't exist.
So
That's
I'm gonna
why anachronisms don't make any sense to me.
Boom.
That's why you can't prove something with an anachronism.
You can't disprove
you
something.
can't
Yeah.
disprove something.
Hey, an
In that
inaccurate
way. Yeah.
anachronism would be an anachronism.
That's a good try.
Yeah,
That's a good try for sure.
So here's my last question. So we'll wrap it up with this one.
Yeah.
Do you ever think, because I've got a really interesting got a really interesting thought on this. Do you ever think this list will get all green? Do you ever think it's going to go to all green?
I don't think so.
See, if I were God, I would purposefully
just leave one. Out.
Just like leave
all but one.
Something in there that is just like
Which one?
would force some kind of basic.
Yeah, which one would you leave in if you were God?
Money names, no. Ziff, that could be kind of cool, but that's a little bit of an 80s Ninja Turtle. Like if there was a fifth Ninja Turtle, I'd name him Ziff. So no, not that one. I would make it something. Do you guys remember Dane
something
Cook?
Simple like
do you remember Dane Cook, the comedian?
Yeah.
Okay, so Dane Cook had this thing where he said he always wanted to run into his neighbor's house and just like not like take anything valuable, but just like steal the battery out of the remote.
The remote, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it just so that it would drive the guy nuts, thinking like, what else was stolen? And just have to like literally walk around his entire house and just make him go bonkers, right? Uh-huh. So I would do something just like, you're like, okay, what is it? What is it? So I've had to choose from this list. I would make it something that is kind of like just barely unprovable, just barely dubious enough that it irritates you, but also not a big enough
like
deal
Barnes.
that you can. Yeah, that's a good one. Like Barnes,
no, Barnes was pretty good.
Or Shazer, or Moroni. That's a good one. So anyway, all right. So let us know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you think, what do you think of anachronisms in the Book of Mormon? Do you think it's all just a bunch of hogwash, people that are anti-Mormons just trying to throw whatever sticks against the wall and then run with what they come up with? Or do you think that these are actual legitimate concerns that people have compiled over time and are juxtaposing against modern and ancient wisdom and science and so on and so forth? Or is it somewhere in between, or is it something you just like, just don't really think about and don't worry about too much because you're kind of like Heber J. Grant and you already have a spiritual witness of the truth of the Book of Mormon? Either way, it is fun. And this is where, all joking aside, I definitely agree with both Jordan and Brad and Hayden here, that when you get lists like this, they do us a massive favor. You know what I'm saying? Because now all of a sudden, we get to have a lot of fun going and looking for the Great Tempest.
But you disagree with Jackson. You don't agree with Jackson.
Why would
Jackson didn't agree with that.
Did I miss you out?
Yeah, dude, it's fine. Whatever.
Okay.
Let's
We'll
just
talk about it later.
We'll make up later.
With a boxing match.
Yeah. That's true. He will be my hero who will fight in my stead when the sweet science comes to fisticuffs. Okay. So anyway,
I'm so confused. All right, we should end this.
No, there's still no. It's really funny. Kwaku L challenged an anti-Mormon to a boxing match, and he actually said yes. But the guy was active military, and the Utah State Fighting Commission won't allow active military to fight, and so we have to either wait until he's not decommissioned, but he's
what branch of the military is he?
Navy. Is yes, Navy. No,
is he a
Coast
SEAL?
I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, okay. So, but I do know that he works at a Naval Academy. Yes, Naval Academy. That's it.
Cool.
So, we got to wait for him to graduate, and then we'll be able to jump in the ring with him. Until then, we thought about doing it in sumo suits, so it's an exhibition match.
Yeah, there we go.
You know what I'm saying? And that'd be really funny to have him waddle around Kwaku L, skinny Kwaku L in a sumo suit.
It wasn't there that other guy that challenged you recently?
There was a funny guy that I think I saw on TikTok. We might react to that, and also Chris Hanna said that he would fight us because he's trying to cut up for a one of his, what is that called, bodybuilding matches.
Chris Hanna could take all three of us.
You think so?
Absolutely.
I don't know. Boxing,
muscle's heavy, bro.
I got a 7'2" arm span. You got to get to me first. You got to get to me first.
Maybe.
You know.
I guess if we did teamwork,
okay.
Right?
Let us know what you guys think in the comments below. This is Midnight Strike Through Mormons. We'll see you guys in the next program.